We're going to be in John chapter 2 today. As chapter 1 is almost like an introduction. So this will be a rich time for us. Okay? Hopefully so. Now, before we read into chapter 2, I want to set this thing up a little bit, because the New Testament has a Jewish background from the Old Testament, right? And so when you read the New Testament, you are reading people with a Jewish culture. They're born, they're raised, they breathe it, etc. And so the New Testament is written by their hands, and it has that flavor. And so you don't want to miss a figure of speech, okay, or the Jewish pictures that are there. And so when you get to the wedding at Cana, Jesus is going to turn the water into wine. This is not about wine. And it's not about water, okay, or in the miracle of these things are called signs. There are 7 signs in the Gospel of John, 7 miracles. And he ends by saying, these things are written, you might know that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and that believing you might actually have life, right? That's what he's trying to do. He's going to show us who Jesus is. In the first chapter, he created everything. And without him, nothing was created, nothing came into existence. You, your parents, your grandparents, nobody. No ships, no oceans, no dirt and soil, nothing. No trees, nothing. He brought all those things, okay? And they were created by him, and they were created for him, okay? Now, I want to deal with the issue of this wine and what Jesus is doing here. It's going to be the first miracle that he does in the Gospel of John. Remember, the Gospel of John is the one gospel written for believers, those who are Christians, okay? Now, the prophets describe the Messianic kingdom as having an abundance of wine in it. Matter of fact, Genesis 49, when the Messiah gets here, he's going to do his laundry in champagne. Tells you what's coming. What a day that will be, right? Psalm 4, verse 7, he has put gladness in my heart more than when their grain and their new wine are increased. A bumper crop, right? That gives you joy. Okay, Psalm 104, he causes the grass to grow for the cattle, herds for the herbs for the service of men, that he may bring forth food out of the earth, wine that makes the heart of man glad. Now notice God gives us wine because it makes the heart of man glad, oil for his face to shine, and bread to strengthen man's heart. So this is not in a negative light, it's in a positive light. Ecclesiastes 9, go your way, eat your bread with joy, and drink your wine with a merry heart. And again, merriness and happiness deal with the heart. God has already accepted your works, okay? Now, that's just to show you during the time of harvest, during the time of bumper crops, and your basic life that you're going to live in general. Well, go your way, eat your bread with joy, and drink your wine with a merry heart. Okay? Go ahead and enjoy this world you're here. Okay? A lot of trials ahead. Don't focus on that. Just enjoy what God has done for you and what God is going to do with you. Okay? Now, if I were to tell you that there's one book in the Old Testament where wine and vineyards are mentioned over and over and over again, I'm curious what you'd come up with, okay? That book is the Song of Solomon. The Song of Solomon is called the Song of Songs, like the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, Holy of Holies. It's the greatest of the songs. And it is about a man and a woman, okay? And it's about marriage. And it's about before the marriage begins, during the marriage, and then heading at the end. Also, the song is written for a duet. You can't sing it by yourself, okay? So if you're going to have the Song of Songs and the wine and the joy and all those other things, okay, you're going to have to get your wife singing. You're going to have to get your husband singing, right? You're going to have to sing this together. It only works together. So this is the Song of Song, which is his, right? Now, by the way, there's some friends that sing a little bit of background chorus, but they never come into certain rooms, and they don't go into certain areas. They just encourage them on the wedding night. The next morning there's a basket of food sitting there for them, and they're just encourage them, and then they go away, because there are times when they need to go away. So I want to give you a little bit of this so you can see this. Okay, verse 1, the highest song of songs, which is Solomon's, and her name is, she's the Shulamit. It's the feminine form of his name. He is Solomon, she is Salomit, okay, feminine form of her who is everything is perfect, right? Verse 2, he's kissing me with the kisses of his mouth, because your romantic loves are better than wine. Then he says, draw me after you, we will run. He has caused me to be brought, the king has, into his rooms. We will twirl and be dancing and rejoicing in you, and we remember to focus on your romantic love more than wine. Okay. Why the comparison is more than wine? Because it's about the joy between a man and a woman. Okay. Now she says, I'm very dark. That is, she's a working woman. She works out in the fields and she's got a tan. Now, tan in those days was not a compliment to a woman. Okay. It was a sign of a working woman out and dark. And we'll see that later on he talks about her being like ivory white kind of thing. So she's a little bit richer when she marries Solomon. But she says, I'm very dark, and I'm right at home, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of black Kedar. So when she says she's dark, she's really dark, like the black tents of Kedar, like the trembling curtains of Solomon. Don't you guys be staring at me who am very dark, which I'm very scorched by the sun's staring focus on me. The sons of my mother, they snorted hotly at me. This is her brothers, okay? And they put me to keep her the vineyards. Her brothers forced her to go out to those vineyards. And then she says, my vineyard, that which is mine, I've not kept. That is, I haven't had time to, my vineyard, I haven't time to do my hair and makeup and my nails and things like that. I haven't had time to do that. She's a working girl, okay? A little bit different than the palace girls, right? Now it goes on a little bit further, and she actually joins Solomon a little bit later because she talks about he's shepherding. He's not king yet, okay? So he's not the king yet. He's a young man, but he still has some shepherds, and so she goes out in the afternoon, very public, very open, right, and spends time with him, okay? And he speaks and says, "You who are beautiful among women." And then later he says, to a mare among the chariots of Pharaoh, I compare you, my companion girlfriend. That's rather an exciting expression, mare among these stallions, okay? And now she has joined him and she speaks, a pouch of myrrh is my romantic beloved to me. It stays all night between my breasts. She thinks about him. Okay, a cluster of henna blossoms and my romantic beloved one is to me in the vineyards or vintages of En-Gedi. There's a vineyard again. He speaks, look at you, beautiful, my companion girlfriend. Look at you, beautiful are your dove's eyes. And she responds, well, look at you, my romantic beloved, who is beautiful. She says, I am a common flower of Sharon's plain. I'm just a common lily of the valleys. And by the way, that's what she is. She's among lower class because she's a working girl, okay? And Solomon, obviously, she caught his eye, even with the tan kind of thing, and which was not praised in those days. But he says, you're a lily among brambles. That's how everybody else stacks up against you, okay? By the way, before I go on, remind you of this. Early on, he'll have a couple hundred wives. Obviously, he's king, and he's marrying these more wives. Later on, she says he's got 1,000 wives. That's the limit of what he got. These are political marriages. So he married these gals hundreds at a time. Okay, a lot of these girls he probably never knew their name, and he never spent the night with them because these are political marriages. Okay, now you can see the word wife. There is no Hebrew word for wife. It's just a word for a woman, a man's woman. It can be a wife or it can be a concubine, etc. But there is a term, kala. C-A-L-A. Kala is the bride price, and it is the word for a wife, and it means to all him or complete him. And there's only one woman who has that title, and it's her. She also does not live in the harem. Solomon had 1,000 women plus one who was out there, and as you'll see here, he's quite in love with her. Okay. As lilies among the brambles, thus you are my companion, my girlfriend among these daughters. She responds to his compliment as an apple tree among the trees in the forest. He brought me into his house of wine, and his banner over me was love. And then later on, she talks with her girlfriends, and she says, I want to make you girls to swear, daughters of Jerusalem, by the female gazelles and by the female deer. These are expressions used like in Proverbs for being feminine. All that's feminine, okay? The female deers are of the cultivated fields, and let that you do not arouse my eyes unless you or stir up my love. She's talking about romantic love, which time she is delighting. So there's a time for my romance, but it's not yet. And there's certain conversations young ladies should not be having until the time. Same way with men. Okay. I want you to notice also before they're married, they're talking fairly romantically, aren't they? They are. Okay. I think he's telling her, you're absolutely beautiful, and you stir my heart and my soul. And I'm looking forward to the day when I can be with you fully, in spirit, soul, and body. And they're very careful, very guarded about this, okay? Now, it's getting near the wedding time. The winter's passing. And he comes up and he begins to pressure her, probably not pressuring her, but she feels pressured. You gals ever feel that with your husbands? Okay? Okay, and he's a bit intense with this. He says, my romantic beloved focused intensely, and he said to me, get yourself up and get yourself going, my companion, my girlfriend, my beautiful one. Because behold, the winter's past, the rain has passed on with it. The blossoms are seen in the earth. The time of the touching of the zimmer, which is like a guitar type of thing, and the singing has come. The voice of the turtle dove is heard in the land. The fig trees ripen in its unripe figs, and the vines are in blossom. They give forth their fragrance. Get yourself up, my companion girlfriend. Let's get going. Pack your bags. Get ready. Kind of things like that kind of thing. And then she starts avoiding him. And he comes and he's aware of the fact she's avoiding him. He says, my dove in the cleft of the rocks, your hiding place, let me see your appearing. Let me hear your voice. Okay, why don't you want to be with me, kind of thing. And she speaks and says, get a grip on the foxes for us, the little foxes that are spoiling the vineyards and the grapes and the joy. For our vineyards are in blossom. I think she's telling him, I'm a little pressured by you, and you need to back off a little bit. Okay? And later on, she's alone. She says, my romantic beloved is mine, and I am his. And he shepherds among the lilies. Okay? And again, we have a little insight into their thoughts when they're not together. They're thinking about each other, etc. Okay? And she actually tells him, she speaks of the mountains of separation, that we're getting pretty close here. We need to have a little bit of space. Okay? Now, the wedding day comes, okay, and it describes that wedding day. And they go through the wedding. And then the wedding is over. And now it's behind, and they are alone. And Solomon speaks to her. Now, this is their wedding night. Okay? Look at you. You're beautiful, my companion girlfriend. Look at you, beautiful. Your eyes are doves from in behind your veil. So she's got her veil on. He's looking at her face, okay? From behind your veil. Your hair is a flock of black goats coming down over her shoulders, right? That are jumping playfully from the mountains of Gilead. Kind of her shoulders like mountains. Your teeth are as a flock of freshly shorn female sheep coming up from the washing. All of them bear twins. She's got all of her teeth. That's good news, isn't it? Anything? And there isn't one that is missing. Your two lips are like refined scarlet thread. Your conversations are right at home lovely. Your cheeks are like slices of pomegranates behind your veil. Your neck is like the tower. It goes on and on. Now, she speaks to him. And then she leaves the room. Until the breathing of the day and the fleeing of the shadows, I'm going to go away from myself. I'm going to be alone. For the mountains of myrrh, the fragrances and the delights of what's coming. To the hills of the white frankincense. And now she returns and he speaks. Now she returns from getting herself ready and she's in the wedding chamber and it's just him. All of you is beautiful. My companion girlfriend, a blemish is not in you. They go on a little bit further. How beautiful are your romantic loves, my sister, my bride, who is my all. How your romantic loves are better than wine. There's that wine again. And the fragrant breath of your oils. She smells very nice, okay, than any of the other perfumes, okay. He goes on with compliment, and finally he says, a garden locked is my sister, my bride, who is my all. Okay. By the way, in the scriptures, she is a vineyard, and she has a vineyard. She has a private vineyard. Okay. And here she has also been a locked garden, a private area just for her husband. A rolling locked fresh water spring. He goes on, a spring of the gardens, in a well of living fresh water. They're trafficking from Lebanon, fresh water. Now she speaks to herself as Solomon approaches her to consummate their relationship. And she says, wake up, O north, and come, O south, blow your breezes from my garden. Let its spices be flowing. My romantic lover is coming to his garden, and he will be eating in the most excellent fruit of his garden. You'll notice the speech is careful. We know what's going on, but we can't see. There's no crassness. There's no over-explanation here. Okay? Now, at this point in time, the curtains are pulled shut and we're removed from the building. We can't go in there. We can't follow any further. It's the next morning. Their friends have brought a basket of food outside their door, and they bring that in. And Solomon says, I've come to my garden, my sister, my wife, who is everything. I have plucked my myrrh with my spices. I have eaten my honeycomb with my honey, and I have drunk my wine with my milk. And the friends say, you guys eat, oh friends, you guys drink and get drunk with romantic love. Okay, so there's your time. If you want to get drunk, there's the perfect time to do it, as it were, drunk with your wife, her romance, etc. Now, in chapter 5, I was sleeping and my heart was awake to the sound of my romantic lover. Okay, I'm going to skip part of this. What happens is she has a dinner plan with him. Okay, and it's really quite incredible. And now mind you, she doesn't live in the harem. She lives outside the palace. And he's busy. There are thousands of people that are clamoring for his time. And so he shows up and he's late. Okay? Well, what happened to the hot meal sitting on the table? It's cold. The candles, she put the candles out. She takes her garment, she folds it and puts it away. She gets in bed. She washes her feet and gets in bed. Okay? And he shows up. Open to me, my sister, my companion girlfriend, my dove, my perfect one. My head is filled with dew. It's wet out here, kind of cool. Okay, locks of your hair, the drips of the night. And so she's talking to him from the bed. He's outside. I spread out the tunic. I took off. How can I put them on again? I've washed my feet. How can I get them dirty? My romantic beloved put forth his hand in the latch hole. They had different latches there. And my inward parts began to be aroused over him. So she's upset with him at the same time. She's beginning to soften towards him. And he's talking very complimentary to him. So I arose to open to my romantic beloved. But before she does, she says, my two hands were dripping with myrrh. So she goes and freshens herself up, my fingers with myrrh upon the release over the hands of the lock. She opens it, he has gone. She gets up quickly, throws a wrap around herself, and goes after him. Okay? And she finds him, and when she finds him, he begins to talk romantically to her again. And she's upset. You left. You told me to leave. Okay. You told me to leave. Well, that's not what I meant, though, because now they go back to her place, and everything is kind of patched up, and they move on from their little trial here. Now, he goes on, 60 queens there are, and 80 concubines, and young girls without number, but she's the only one, my dove, my perfect one. He's got a lot of gals back there in the harem, if he so chooses here. Okay? Now, the scene closes out. And the story picks up with her at another time. Okay, seem to go together. She makes romantic plans and charges into the palace, and she's followed literally by hundreds of these women. My take on this is she's probably never been in that harem before there, but she goes through there, and they start following her, telling her, "Turn around, we want to see you. We've heard about you, but we've never seen you. We want to know who you are," etc. Okay, and again they talk about the grapes. They talk about the vines, the idea of the wine here. So the women in the palace of the harem follow her speaking out. Now, Solomon gets her, she finds him, and they're alone, and he speaks to her. How beautiful were the footsteps of your feet in sandals. I'm delighted to hear when I kind of thing. To hear this, the curves of your thighs are as polished ornamental jewels, the works of the hands of a master. Your navel is a round bowl. You probably shouldn't say these words to your wife. Okay. It does not lack mixed wine. Your belly is a heap of wheat encircled with bright lilies. And by the way, and again, if you're a cultured woman and pretty well off, you're not out in those hot vineyards, okay? And you put on a little bit of weight, okay? And in those days, they liked their women a little bit thicker than modern thing, okay? They weren't thinking bikini babes, okay? They weren't thinking that at all, okay? So he appreciates her having a little bit more weight here. Your two breasts are as two fawns, twins of the gazelle. He talks about her neck, her eyes, her nose, her head again, or her hair. Now she's got her hair done. You become beautiful, etc. Now, they go on here, and she gets to a point where she has plans for him. Come, my romantic beloved, let us be going to the fields, and let us be lodging in the villages. Now, they live in Jerusalem. She wants to get out of Jerusalem and go out in the country to the smaller places. Okay, now he's a king, and at this point in time, an entourage will be with them where they're going. Okay, we can go out early to the vineyards, and we will be seeing whether the vines have burst into blossoms, and the blossoms open, and the pomegranates are sparkling. And there, I will give you my romantic love. Okay, now notice she's propositioning her husband with a romantic getaway, and they're going away to be together. That she knows that I will have all of his attention if we're not in Jerusalem. Okay, and he knows that she will have his attention, and he will have her attention. Okay, and what a proposition. Okay, and they're going to go up. By the way, when they talk about Hermon, going up to Mount Hermon, that's because that's the snow is up there. Okay, it'd be like saying a weekend in McCall or a week in McCall. Okay, now she speaks. And again, the vineyards and the grapes and the wine are here describing that relationship. It's a time when they're together and they're enjoying time together, enjoying each other. Now, the love first gives forth their fragrances. And upon the bursting blossoms of the excellent fruits, new ones also, old ones from the past, my romantic beloved, I've treasured them away for you. So they're going to have romance in old ways and new ways, etc. And she's kind of, I don't want to use the term baiting him, but she's setting him up for a weekend away for romance. Now, in chapter 8, some time has passed. They're together. They're in public, and perhaps even up in these little places. Now, who can make you as a brother to me? Nursing at my mother's breast, I would find you outside, and I would be kissing you, and also they wouldn't be despising me. If you were my brother, all right, in that culture, in the Middle Eastern culture, a sister can kiss her brother. Nobody would think anything of it, and a brother can kiss her sister, etc. But she says, but I can't kiss you. Husbands and wives did not show affection out in public. Okay? So that's all she's saying. That if you're my brother, at least I could peck you on the cheek or something like that. Okay? I would be driving you forth hastily. I would be taking you into a house, as my mother used to teach me. Places of privacy. I would quench your thirst from the wine with spices, from the fresh squeezed juices of my pomegranates. Okay, and they describe some other things here. I'm going to skip most of those. Again, later on they're together, but you can get the idea. The imagery is really revealing here. Okay. Now, she's meditating. At this point in time, Solomon has 1,000 wives. Okay, they've matured. He's older. There was a vineyard that was Solomon's at Baal Hamon. He put that vineyard with the keepers. This is the whole harem he put up there. Okay, each man will bring forth its fruit for 1,000. It's like take 1,000 women, you load them all up in these great big buses, and you haul them all down there, kind of thing. And they're going to spend a weekend or a week or so, and they're just going to be getting fragrance, getting their hair done, their nails done, their toenails, all this other stuff. They're just a beauty thing going on here. Now, that's where the vineyard is. She says, my vineyard, remember, she couldn't keep her vineyard early on because she had to work. Now she says, my vineyard, which belongs to me, is also under my personal attention. I'm not with those girls. The 1,000, that's for Solomon, but there are 200 for the keepers. This is what I'm spending on getting this. That is its fruit. Solomon speaks, oh, you girl who dwell in the enchanted gardens, they're paying attention to your voice. Cause me to hear it. Okay? And she's aware this is going on, and I want to be a part of this. I want to spend time with you. And I love that she sends him a note back. Start running, my romantic lover. Be like a gazelle on a young stag of the powerful males upon the mountains of spices. All right, so now that's all about wine and vineyards. Okay, wine and vineyards are about joy in this relationship between a man and a woman. And again, you can't sing this song alone. You have to have a girl with you. You have to have your wife, or your wife to be. Now, this is the Song of Songs. It begins before the wedding. It starts when a young man and a young woman meet, and they are betrothed. Okay, certain amount of resources change hands, and it takes in Israel took a divorce to get out of it. You are going. The song is beginning, okay? And as time goes on, by the way, can you look back before you were married, you were getting close and you knew you were getting close, things were already changing, weren't they? They were changing, okay? I remember the day this has been a long time ago there, but I remember the first time my wife said, give me $20. Okay. Why am I giving you $20? I was the first, and I thought, okay, things are, before that, she would have done that. Never would have done that, okay? But our relationship had changed because we were engaged. We were headed towards a wedding, those type of things. Okay, now, chapter 2 of the Gospel of John, it's the third day, and you've got a wedding at Cana. Now, this wine is about the joy that this poor couple needs for, it's the joy that they need for their life. And earthly wine will fail you, will run out, you won't have it. It may not even be that good anyway. But if Jesus is present, you can bet things are going to be different. Now, let me tell you the 7 signs that he's going to do here in the Gospel of John. There's a pattern. What's the pattern? He turns the water into wine. Then he's going to heal the nobleman's son. So we're going from a new couple to a child. Healing the man at the pool. Nobody helps me get in there. I can't walk and get over there. Then he feeds the 5,000. He's walking on the water, which is interesting. He was going to just walk on by if they didn't scream out to him and call on him. Which is a foolish thing. If you're a Christian and you're in a storm and a trial, and Jesus is near and you don't even ask him or talk to him about it, you just walk on by. Your choice. Don't do that. Walking on the water, healing a man born blind, and the resurrection of Lazarus. Okay? Now these are the signs that John said will make you believe in him and get this right? Now watch this. Signs number 1 and 7 go together. 2 and 6 go together. 3 and 5 go together, and you have the one in the middle. So he's going to turn the water into wine, joy for that couple, and it's going to end with resurrection. That Jesus Christ alone can bring life that into your wedding, into your life. Now, by the way, if you come to know the Lord after that, you do things right, well, just square this thing up and move on. Move on. Okay? Enter into what he has for you. Secondly, he goes to the nobleman's son. Well, this 6th miracle is healing of a man born blind, which his parents are saying, yes, this is our son. We really know who this is. Okay? Healing at the man at the pool and the walking on the water. The man at the pool can't walk, but Jesus comes walking on water. You and I cannot walk in God's ways until we're with him. Only we can walk on water with him. The water is these storms. These storms that threaten us to kill us and destroy us. Okay? And then the center one is the feeding of the 5,000. It's because it's not about earthly food, it's about spiritual food. I'm the bread that came down out of heaven. Not earthly manna. Your father ate manna and they died. You eat this food, you'll have eternal life, and that's what he's illustrating here. And there's no limit to what he can provide, to how many he can provide. He'll never, ever run out. Okay? Now, verse 1, it is the 3rd day. Okay? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's Tuesday because the Jewish calendar begins on Sunday. The 3rd day is also the day with a double blessing. Day 2, God doesn't see that it's good, but he does 2 goods on day 3. So people commonly would do that. And you have a wedding. And it's in the Galilee region. It's at Cana of the Reeds. Cana of the Reeds. Now this location is not known. They make a pretty good guess where they think it is. Now, reeds is from a Hebrew word that means to create or erect something new, and a wedding certainly does that. And the mother of Jesus who restores was continuing there. Now she lives in Nazareth, but she's been down there for a while. Okay, probably helping out with the wedding. And also Jesus who restores was called and his student disciples to the marriage. And when the wine was lacking, the mother of Jesus who restores, she says to him, they don't have any wine. By the way, in a moment, the head waiter's going to say, and the wine that they really had was really bad. It was not very good wine, kind of thing. And all of life is going to be that way. If you want to enjoy good days and things like that, walk with the Lord. Okay, and I can't tell you what he's going to do or not do in your world. Okay? But he'll do his will, and it will be worth it in the end. Verse 4. And Jesus, who restores, he says to her, "What is this to me and to you, woman? My hour is not yet come." Now, if you look at that word hour in the Gospels, it's a generic term for a real hour, 60 minutes, right? I think it's pretty clean here that she knows he's going to do his first miracle here at this wedding. And she evidently is aware of the fact that he's going to wait until the wedding, until the wine's gone, that he's going to do something, okay? And she, good mother, presses her son just a little bit, okay? Now, he says, my hour is not the hour yet. I'll get to this. Verse 5. His mother says through the dust deacons, okay, when important, this is not slaves serving. This is a poor family here, right? They never even had any good wine. All right? She says to them, that which whatever he might actually say to you guys do it immediately. Okay? Now, I don't know if Jesus is waiting for the cups to be emptied as well, and everybody to feel a little bit of pressure about what's coming, let their palates dry out, have a glass of water, etc., and then he'll perform this. Now, there were stone water containers. 6 were set there according to the cleansing of the Jews. Now, they were containing 2 or 3 measures each. Some of you say firkins, and if you're using the King James, firkin is a quarter of a barrel. Okay? This is quite impressive. Now, let me tell you how much is here. Okay. By the way, it's for the cleansing of the Jews. They had to cleanse themselves certain ways, and you had to literally have somebody, they would hold their hands up, you pour water over their hands, and then they wash their hands, and then they hold them up again. You have to pour water over their hands again. They can't turn them down because then any dirty water would come back over the hands, re-defile the hands. So they wouldn't do that. So that's a special way of doing this, okay? So Jesus is going to ruin all this holy water and turn it into wine, which means if you're hung up on ritual of cleansing, guess what? You're going to have to leave the wedding. Good riddance. This is not the place for that. All right, so 6 pots, 2 to 3 measures each. Okay, 1 measure is 8 7/8 gallons each. So each pot contains 22 gallons. How much wine is this? A lot of wine. This is a total of the pots is 132 gallons. Okay, 500 liters total. Roughly 666 bottles of wine, or 2,668 glasses of wine. And what kind of wine is it? It's quality wine. We'll know that, all right? So, again, 2,668 wine. Now, by the time they're done, you can tell that this is not about supplying wine to this wedding. This is way more than they need. Okay? This is about giving them joy and leaving them with a gift so they can kick off. And how many of you were pretty broke and poor when you got married? Okay, right? Me too. Kind of thing. My wife had a broken down old car. I had a broken down old car. We used her old furniture and things like that. When we got together. We didn't have much, kind of thing. Didn't need much. Just being together was just a thrill. Okay. So this is a lot of wine, far more than they need. Okay. Now, verse 7, Jesus who restores, he says to them, you guys fill the water containers with water. They filled them to the top. He said to them, now you guys draw out now, you guys, and carry it to the master waiter of the 3 couches. That's literally what it is. Okay. Master waiter. It's arche is the same exact word in verse 1. In the beginning, it's the word arche, beginning. He's the beginning or the head. Tri, 3. Architri. And then klenos. You guys use the word cline all the time. To recline, lean back. Okay? Incline, to lean in. Decline, to lean down, etc. We use this term all the time. So you got their couches. Okay? And he's the chief of the 3 couches. That is, he serves only the bride and the groom and the families that are there. He doesn't serve anybody else. Okay? They carried it to him, but as the master waiter of the 3 couches has tasted the water which had become wine, and he had not known where it's from. But through the deacons, the servants, by the way, these servants are going to be friends, family members, okay? They knew, those who had drawn out the water, the master waiter of the 3 couches, he called the bridegroom. Now notice, he talks to him privately. He doesn't shout it to the crowd. He talked to him privately. He said, every man is putting forth first the good wine, and when they've genuinely drunk, the inferior. You kept the good wine until now. By the way, he would do this privately because there may be something going on that he doesn't know, some surprise, something like that. All right, this is good wine. Okay. By the way, if you go to the store, you can probably get a 3 for $1 glass of wine at the store, right? And at the higher end, you can pay $1,000 for a bottle of wine. Get the idea? This is not the low end, which is where they started. Right? The low end. If you buy a box wine, I think you get like 3 glasses for $1 in box wines. And then high end, typically you have to go to a wine store. Okay, not just your grocery store, but you can go there. It's very expensive stuff here. So they've gone from the $3, 3 for $1, up to good quality stuff. Okay. Verse 11. Now this is the beginning of the signs. This is the first sign Jesus ever did, first miracle. Now you guys have seen people write the books. Oh, we got these lost books about Jesus, and where he's healing kids and killing birds and raising them from the dead, killing his best friend, raising him from the dead, because he's a show-off. Okay, that's just nonsense. It's silliness, and people are trying to make money. Okay? That's the beginning of the first sign. After this, he'll heal a son of the centurion, and the Bible said that's his second miracle that he did. Second one he ever did in his life. Okay? Jesus who restores, he did this in Cana the reed, which is what that is here, the Galilean region, and he revealed his weighty glory, the expression of his character. He told you who he was in chapter 1. He's God, he's the Word of God, God of very God. And he starts with this. The first thing I want to do for you is I want to go to work between you and your wife. Because frankly, things in this world come and go, but I can't think of anything more than a man and a woman together having a place of rest where he goes there and she is his joy and he is her joy, and their time together can be very, very sweet. Okay? When God created Adam and Eve, let me tell you what he does here. He created them male and female. The word for male means to be extended. The word for female means to be pierced. Pierced in the sense which makes her the weaker vessel. Okay, it's not good for a man to be alone. He brings her to him. And the first expression of his joy appears, right? He sits down and he writes poetry about his wife. And that's something. That's the first miracle God did, was his first, the first miracle is the wedding, okay? And he says, she is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. But the word flesh also translates desire. That's all it is, okay? She's desire of my desire. And I think he's looking at her. By the way, she's just this brand new, created, naked young lady. And he looks at her and says, I like her. And she evidently likes me. There's no competition around, of course. It's me or nothing, babe. You'll do. But no, he looks at her. She's incredible. She's absolutely incredible. Okay? And it hasn't changed much. You know, you can take pictures of girls and sell them to guys. You can't sell guys pictures to girls. They don't care about that sort of thing. They're that relationship thing. But they do this. And God has a pattern for marriage that works. Okay? He says you are responsible for her and for the cleanliness of her spirit, her mind, and her relationship with the Lord. And she needs to be responsible to submit to you as she would to the Lord. Okay, let me tell you, if you're doing that, you should be able, gentlemen, at any time tell anybody what sacrifices you've made, how you went out of your way for your wife. That's agape. You did something that was about her and not about you. Okay. And ladies, you can tell if you're in submission to your husband, because if you don't agree on the decisions that's made, you can still speak civilly to him. And if you cannot, you have no intentions of helping him. You're actually trying to kick him out of the driver's seat and put yourself there. That's usurping of headship and usurping, and it's not God's way. By putting those things together, where there's mutual joy being shared together, him as the male, make sure your home has, is the husband in charge or is she in charge? Okay, get the idea. And in Timothy, it talks about a man who won't stand in front of his house. That's the term that's used. You stand in front of your wife and kids, and you lead from that posture. That has not changed. The world's going crazy, okay? But it has not changed. Okay. He's demonstrating his weighty glory right there in marriage. Verse 12. After this, he went down to Capernaum, the city of Nahum, as in the prophet. He himself and his mother and his brothers and his student disciples. Now notice his brothers are different than his disciples. Jesus has lots of half-brothers, got some half-sisters, etc. It says Joseph never touched Mary until she brought forth her firstborn, Jesus. And then they were, by the way, Jesus was born and they were out of wedlock. They weren't married. Okay? Guaranteeing that he was not the father. But after that, they marry and they have lots of kids here. And there they remain not many days. The Passover, which means passing over, hopping over, jumping over, etc., of the Jews of praise was near. And Jesus who restores, he went up to the city of wholeness, Jerusalem. Okay? Remember the Passover, if I see the blood, I'll step across you. I won't, okay? And if I don't, there will be death. Okay? Because the blood, Jesus is the blood of the Passover in 1 Corinthians 5. Verse 14, so he found the sacred building complex in that complex, the temple complex. Let me explain this. The word naos translates temple, and it is the word for the holy place and the holy of holies. When Jesus died, the holy place and the holy of holies is one and the same. There's no separation. Okay. Then there's hieron, which means the temple complex. It's all the buildings. And Jesus and the disciples were in the hieron, the temple complex, where they would teach, dine, and all kinds of things going in there. That's what we're talking about here. All the outbuildings and things like that. So he finds those who are selling oxen. These are the sacrifices for being fruitful in strength. Sheep, sacrifices make you innocent. And the dove, these are the heavenly sacrifices. And the coin handlers having seated themselves. Now he made a whip out of the water rush plants. That is the word that's used here. And he cast out everyone out of the sacred temple complex. All right. Goodness. On the back part of the temple complex, you have this huge temple structure here. That's the holy place and the holy of holies. And it's blocked off by the court of the priests. Okay, that's where the sacrifices are. You step through a door over here. This is the court of the Jews. Everybody's out here. Thousands of people are out here. Now notice they brought animals in here. And on the north, it faces east, the sunrise. But on the north side, there's a great big water pool over there. And that's where the animals were all washed to get ready to get them sacrificed. That's where the animals should have been, out there. But they brought them inside. And they've also brought the bankers inside. Okay, and tens of millions of dollars in today's money is changing hands here. Hundreds of millions of dollars are changing hands. And Jesus walks in there thinking, what is this stuff doing in here, right? He makes this whip and kicks everybody out of the temple complex with the sheep and the oxen. He poured out the coins on the money changers. Goodness. He's got a temper. Well, sometimes, yes, you need to have a temper. Anger's not wrong because God gets angry. He overturned the tables. Now those selling the doves, he said, you guys take this up as imperative right now from here. You guys stop making this house, the one that belongs to my father, into a marketplace. This is not Walmart. What are you doing? Okay. They were reminded, his student disciples, that it was and still is, that's the emphasis of the verb here, is still written. Zeal for your house is going to eat on me aggressively. This is used of wild animals, how wild animals eat. You ever seen a wild dog eat? It gulps it down. Therefore the Jews of praise, they answered and they said to him, what signs are you going to show us that you are doing these things? And Jesus who restores, he was caused to answer. He said to them, you guys tear down this holy sanctuary. This is not the temple complex, but the temple. You tear that temple down, okay, that one, and in 3 days I'm going to raise it up. And therefore they said to him, 46 years this holy sanctuary was built. And you in 3 days you're going to raise it up. But he was speaking concerning the sanctuary of his body. Now notice something. What's the Holy of Holies? It is Jesus Christ himself, is it not? And it is. To get into the Holy of Holies, you get inside of him. 168 times in the New Testament, you are in Christ, in Christ, in Christ. Okay? Therefore, when he was raised out from among those who were dead, they were reminded, his students and disciples, that he was saying this, and they believed the scriptures. And the word which Jesus who restores had said. And he was in the city of wholeness, Jerusalem, in the Passover, in the feast. Many believed in his name when they saw the signs that he was doing. But he himself, Jesus who restores, did not believe to entrust himself to them on account of he himself knowing all men. Okay? Now, There's your first miracle. Jesus is taking this very seriously. He takes your marriage seriously. He wants very, very much to be a part of it. By the way, when he was doing all this at the wedding, he wasn't seen. Where was he? He's back in the back room. Nobody knows what's going on back there except the servants. Still true among God's people. You serve the Lord, you'll see things that are incredible. The second thing he does is show you that he hates imposters, hypocrites. The word hypocrite, by the old word for actor. You speak from under a mask. No acting. Don't do that. Don't be taking advantage of the widows and the orphans and young married couples and things like that. So let Jesus go to work with you to help you and teach you how to sing this Song of Solomon, to enjoy the wine of your relationship and the joy that can be there. That joy goes on before they're married, during their marriage, later on when they're maturing, and later on when they have kids. That song is still going, right? You want to sing that thing through the end, and you want to, as you get older and you get elderly, you want to still be singing that song. One song, don't let it stop. Glorify your Father, respond to Him, He'll respond to you. Father, thank you for our time. We do worship you. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for showing us your glory, telling us who you are, and then explaining the ramifications for that. The blind will see. Those who can't walk in your ways are going to learn to walk in your ways. You begin with joy in our hearts and relationships with our spouses. Lord, glorify yourself in all these things, Lord. For those that are not married, may they enjoy you in every way. And as Paul said, you have given opportunities to them that others do not have. But by any description, wherever we are, may we honor you right now. In your name we pray. Amen.